Hi, and welcome to the Breakout EDU setup video for the game Save the Stocks, an introduction to the Great Depression. Scenario: following the roaring 20s of the Jazz Age, the United States struggled with over a decade of terrible economic troubles as a result of a weak banking system, overproduction of goods, overspending, and bursting credit bubbles. The Wall Street stock market crash of 1929 was one of the main causes of the Great Depression. It was the most devastating crash in the history of the United States and is known as Black Tuesday. Unfortunately, the country is in danger again. Mr. Ron A. Muck has stolen lots of stock from the stock market and has hidden it in the Breakout EDU box. In order to recover the stocks and save the country from another Great Depression, you must study the clues from the past and figure out the codes to all the locks in the box. You have 45 minutes to solve the clues and get the stock certificates back to the stock exchange before trading ends for the day. Step 1. Prepare the small box. Print the hobo clue slip and place in the small box. Place the magnifying glass in the small box if using that option, and place the flashlight in the small box. Set the code on the small box to 335. Step 2. Prepare the big box. Print the stock certificate from the digital files and place in the box. You may also choose to print other success signs and place in the box as well. The next step is to prepare the student resources from the Google Drive folder. The first clue is the Black Tuesday in Numbers clue. The first page is an answer key, so be certain not to distribute that to students. There are several options for this clue. The first option requires a QR code reader. Students will scan the QR code, watch the video, answer questions about the video, and plug those answers into the equation in the middle of the sheet. The second option does not require a QR code reader. Students have the address. They'll go to the web address, watch the video, answer questions about the video, plug into the equation, and get the code for the 3-digit lock. The next option removes the equation from the paper, so students have to see their teacher with the correct answers before they're given the equation on a slip of paper. This will help if students are struggling with order of operations and you want to make sure they have correct answers before they start trying the equation. And there's also an option for no equation and no QR code reader. The Black Tuesday video clue takes students to the 3-digit box. When students unlock the 3-digit box, they receive the flashlight, a magnifying glass, and the hobo code slip. The next clue in the Google Drive folder is the Hooverism clue. This is a short article about President Hoover and the Great Depression. Students will read them to understand the common Hooverisms. Students will fill in the blanks and then use those to determine the 4-letter word lock. The first one, for example, is Hoover flags. Students will notice that letter 5 is an S. When they take one away, they have an R. Students will figure out that the 4-letter word is poor, P-O-O-R. The next clue is the Riding the Rails During the Great Depression article. Students will read this article, go to the Google Forms link on the bottom and test their knowledge. It's a quick 4-question quiz. Students are directed to check their score and read the feedback. When they do that, they'll notice every time they have an answer correct, there's a word that's capitalized that reveals one digit of the 4-digit code. For example, one question in the feedback says high 5, and that digit is 5. The next resource that students will receive is the hobo symbols. This won't make much sense to the students other than they might figure out it goes with the directional lock because the word direction is in all caps. But it won't make much sense until they get into the 3-digit box and they receive the hobo clue slip. When students match these designs to the hobo symbols, they'll notice the first one is don't give up. The second is turn right. The third is sit down, feed, and so forth. And so students should notice that there's directional words in those symbols, and that will give them the combination to the directional lock: up, right, down, left, right, up. The next student resource is the Dorothea Lange photography resource, students will read the short article about the documentary photography during the Great Depression. There is a clue that says something about a magnifying glass. Students should have received the magnifying glass in the 3-digit box. They'll notice when they magnify the picture, there is a web address. Students can use that to go to a jigsaw puzzle site. They will put together a jigsaw puzzle of the migrant mother photograph. The migrant mother puzzle tells them to say the following phrase to their teacher: resiliency is the key to survival. When they are able to do that, the teacher should give them the key to the key lock. If you don't have a magnifying glass, this one can be used without a magnifying glass. The website is printed much larger on the picture. The next clue is the unemployment rate clue. This clue requires that students are able to plot a line graph. They are given a table of unemployment rates for certain years during the Great Depression, and they plot those unemployment rates for each year on the line chart. Students also will notice on the same paper that has the table of unemployment rates that certain words stick out: light, line, and plot. So hopefully that will lead them to plot the line and then to use the flashlight. When they use the flashlight on the graph, they'll notice that their line graph goes through 5 letters: B, R, O, K, and E, not in that order, but they will unscramble them in the order they're in and get the word broke for the 5-letter lock. Because invisible ink is used, this clue does require some setup ahead of time by the teacher. The teacher will need to use the answer key to notice the placement of the letters, and then on the student line graph template, mark those letters in invisible ink. The easiest way to do this is to lay the student copy over the answer key, and the letters are bold enough where you can see through the paper, and to mark them with invisible ink. Once the teacher has marked the line graph template, it should look something like this. Although students will only actually use 5 letters that the line graph passes through, the other letters are there as distractors. That way the students will have to actually plot the line before they can determine the code for the 5-letter lock. Once the students plot the line graph will actually go through the invisible letters B, K, O, E, and R, which unscramble for broke. The next step is to print the hint cards in the Google Drive folder. I print and laminate my cards so I can use them for more than one game. To complete setup, put all student documents in a file folder or envelope. If playing with multiple groups, each group should have a copy of all of the documents. Set the timer for 45 minutes and have fun playing Save the Stocks, an introduction to the Great Depression.